Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Cook Inlet Tug and Barge, a marine transportation company specializing in harbor services focusing on the Port of Anchorage and the major commercial participants in the Cook Inlet region, providing customers with marine services specifically tailored to their needs.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks for joining us here on KAKM for Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting tonight's show. Up first here, we've got some very high to extreme fire dangers here in the red shaded areas of the Noatak Valley, the Kobuk and Koyukuk Valley areas, the central interior, central Tanana Valley, as well as the southeastern Brooks Range. That due to the low humidities and pretty brisk northeast winds, gusts of 25 miles per hour reported at both Bettles and Ambler this afternoon. Anatuvik gusts to 30 miles an hour. Pretty brisk winds back here along the western Arctic coast from about Kivalina around to Cape Lisburne, seeing gusts 35 to 40 miles per hour, and that's going to continue tonight and through this evening. Then conditions will improve on toward midnight and after. This yellow shaded area there, that's for the flood advisory that continues out for the Sag River from milepost 387 to Dead Horse there along the Dalton Highway. That's out for probably this evening, and then that's about it for that flood advisory. On the satellite, a lot of clear skies here up over the Northwest Valleys, the Seward Peninsula, just sunshine today all the way down to the North Gulf Coast areas and the Kenai Peninsula, sunshine. Low clouds gave way to afternoon sun here across much of the southeast coast, but some of those lower clouds hugging the coastline there up and along the North Gulf Coast as well. And some leftover clouds here over the southwest interior, and actually a line of thunderstorms developed here during the afternoon hours between Sparavon and Iliamna and extended back up toward Aniak here in this area, cloudiness, and also some thunderstorms reported at Sparavon and then up around the Aniak area northwest here of Aniak. A few isolated strikes showing up this afternoon, and temperatures rising into the mid-70s and lower 80s down in here helped trigger that activity. With to the west of that trough axis, a lot of clouds here out over the southeast Bering Sea. Still some moisture here along the Alaska Peninsula. Cold Bay picked up about 1/10 of an inch of rain in the last 24 hours, but much lighter amounts, just a few hundredths here along the southwest coast of Nevack Island up towards St. Lawrence Island. And then some variable clouds here, or mostly cloudy skies for the Aleutians, although it did break out pretty good there at Unalaska. Saw some sunshine today. And then the advancing cloud shield with the next system that's picking the winds up this afternoon to about 25 to 30 knots there out towards Shemya. Gales are out for tonight for that area and for tomorrow as well. And there's also a gale warning out for tonight here from Kivalina up around, actually from Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson there on the western Arctic coast in that marine zone tonight. Gales tonight, and then they should drop back to small craft advisories tomorrow. You can see the high here up over the Arctic and the lower pressure over the southern interior. The gradient right through this area, that's supporting those gusty northeast winds of 15 to 30, 35, in some cases high as 40 miles an hour along the western Arctic coast. Areas of light snow observed today from Barrow all the way over to Dead Horse, probably Kaktovik as well, with patchy fog. Snow showers up over the eastern North Slope and Brooks Range area. A few isolated showers possible in this batch of clouds right through here that extends back into the Koyukuk Valley. Also some isolated showers possible developing here, mainly over the Wrangell Mountain areas, and then the thunderstorm activity back over into Canada. And you can see all the low clouds here along the southeast coast breaking out this afternoon here. There's a lot of sunshine over most areas of the inside waters, but that low cloud deck extending all the way back to just about into Prince William Sound. Then that north wind, which pushing the clouds off to the southeast there. Kodiak Island, mostly sunny day, but some of that low cloud stratus getting up into Shelikof Strait. Then this line of thunderstorms right through here. Temperatures pushing up to 81 degrees at Port Allsworth helped trigger that activity this afternoon with some north and northeast winds back over the northern Kuskokwim Valley, and then kind of a south to southwest wind, that convergence firing off those thunderstorms again from just south of Antioch right through here down to between Iliamna and Sparavon. And this weak trough, that's what brought the areas of light rain today in the clouds to the Alaska Peninsula, again breaking out over the central Aleutians. Some more scattered showers over toward Atka Island, and looks like some clearing back to the west, and then that next front starting to kick the winds up there over the Aleutians. Again, gale warnings are out tonight for the western Aleutians. Look for rain to move into the area as well, but fair skies, light winds for the central and eastern Aleutians with variably to mostly cloudy conditions. Some light drizzle and fog possible here for the Pribilof Islands, with some of that leftover moisture extending back down across western Bristol Bay to the Alaska Peninsula. And again, evening thunderstorms with showers here, mostly over the Kilbrook Mountains and then scattered up along the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta areas. Possible isolated showers developing along the western Alaska Range tonight. Otherwise, mostly clear here for Cook Inlet and the Matanuska Valley areas, as well as the Copper River Basin. Generally fair. There'll be some clouds over the mountains, but generally dry conditions. Excuse me, with low clouds and fog again developing along the southeast coast. Some of that again pushing inland and covering the area much like it did this morning, overnight last night. And then some isolated showers possible here up over the east central interior areas, and then continued light snow at times there on the eastern Arctic coast with some flurries or snow showers down into the eastern Brooks Range with that continued north to south flow in that area there. Forecast for tomorrow, a little cloudy and a little cooler here across southern Alaska with some isolated thunderstorms over the Wrangell Mountains, otherwise scattered showers over the mountainous terrain, the Talkeetnas, Chugach Range, back over the Alaska Range, and then possibility of some more afternoon thunderstorms here northeast Bristol Bay, back toward the Kilbrook Mountains, southern Kuskokwim Range there, and on out to the west toward the coast. And Nunivak Island will be mostly cloudy here along the southwest coast, but that continued gusty northeast wind flow there, keeping it pretty sunny and clear here. Another sunny day for the Seward Peninsula, much of Norton Sound northward along the northwest coast, western Arctic coast. Should be mostly clear with that good VFR condition pushing out across the Bering Strait and into the Chukchi Sea, with mostly sunny skies here through much of the central interior. Temperatures rising into the 50s and mid-60s. Possibly the Sitna Valley rising in the mid-70s again. Should be cooler over the Copper River Basin. Definitely that low cloud deck pushing up into Prince William Sound and back around into southern Cook Inlet. The east side of Kodiak Island and Fognak Island should remain mostly clear tomorrow, but that area of clouds on the increase around the entire island there. But as long as you maintain that west-southwest wind flow, should stay pretty fair along the east side there, but areas of low clouds, IFR possible along the southeast coast again tomorrow, much like you saw this morning. Isolated showers there for the eastern Aleutians, the Alaska Peninsula, fair for the central Aleutians, and this front spreading again gale force winds over the western Aleutians with rain pushing eastward, but staying to the west of Adak the way it looks at this point in time. And then for Tuesday, that whole system slides to the south of the central Aleutians, but still close enough to provide rain and some east winds of 15 to 30 miles an hour for the central Aleutians. Back to the west, northeasterlies at about 30 knots across Shimio with showers. Then we have a trough again, a little more widespread shower activity here for south central Alaska. Isolated thunderstorms over the Wrangell Mountains, again the western Alaska Range, possibly even the Kilbrook Mountains, but a little more scattered out here on Tuesday than it was today and will be tomorrow. But again, showers more numerous here over northern Cook Inlet and into the Matanuska and Susitna Valley areas. And then lots of low clouds up into Prince William Sound, the Kenai Peninsula, possibly into Cook Inlet as well. So definitely cooler conditions here over the next couple of days. Temperatures a little lower, the highs that is, a little lower each day. Monday a little cooler and then markedly cooler here on Tuesday. And same sort of story here over the southeast coast. Low clouds and fog covering much of the inside water areas in the morning, giving way to partly sunny skies in the afternoon. Still that west-northwest breeze off the ocean there, pushing that cloud deck inland. And temperatures down that way today again with a deeper marine layer or cooler, just 67. That was one of the warmer locations there at the state capital, Juneau. It's 56 at Sitka, 55 at Klawock. Stewart up to 73 this afternoon, 70 degrees in Valdez, but with the clouds, 52 in Cordova, same thing at Middleton Island, up to 64 at Seward, 60 degrees in Homer, just 56 there at Kenai, 71 in Palmer with 73 at Gulkana, 63 up at Northway, same thing at Delta, a little milder at Fairbanks with 68 degrees, and then more sunshine here over the western Tanana Valley and lower Koyukuk, 71 at Tanana. 72 degrees there at Huslia, 73 at Galena, up to 75 this afternoon at McGrath with 66 at Sleepmute, 67 at Bethel. Up to the north, just 30 degrees with those northeast winds again gusting to 30 miles an hour at Anatuvik. 60 degrees though at Bettles with 54 over at Fort Yukon. Lower to mid 30s here on the eastern and central Arctic coast. Point Lay up to 40 degrees. More offshore flow and a little more sunshine there. And again, 62 with those northeast winds at Kivalina, 63 at Kotzebue, 54 at Deering, and 63 at Golovin, 62 over at Nome, 54 at Tin City there, and the Bering Strait coast, 39 at Gamble. And off to the southwest, again, 67 here at Bethel with 45 at Macoriac, 53 at St. Mary's, and a 63-degree reading at Amonic. Mid to upper 40s over the Pribilof Islands, lower to mid 40s over the western and central Aleutians and the Alaska Peninsula, mostly in the mid to upper 40s, but milder 55 degrees there at Sandpoint, and King Salmon up to 68 with a 62-degree reading at Kodiak. Lows tonight, mostly in the lower to mid 50s here over the southwest interior. Otherwise, down into the mid to upper 20s over the Brooks Range and the North Slope areas, western central Arctic coast, and right near freezing even along the west side of the coast there. Otherwise, upper 30s to lower 40s over the northwestern valleys, and upper 30s to lower 40s over the central interior, 40s to lower 50s south central Alaska, and about the same thing for the southeast coast. Highs for tomorrow, looks like upper 50s to upper 60s here. Warmest conditions down over the southern southeast coast with Annette and Klawock forecasting highs in the upper 60s. And again, the Susitna Valley could reach the mid 70s once again tomorrow. Otherwise, generally cooler here across southern Alaska with a little more shower activity and cloud cover. But still pretty nice here over the southwest with temperatures in the 65 to 70 degree range out toward Bethel. A little cooler for the Bristol Bay Area, no change over the Bering Sea, and lower 30s along the Arctic coast. Flying weather, marginal VFR, central eastern Arctic coast with areas of IFR continuing, especially in the morning hours there along the eastern Arctic coast, but pretty good VFR again here through just about all in the interior. Could see some marginal VFR here over the Wrangell Mountains as well as the Kilbook Range. And marginal VFR a little more extensive and farther back to the west now, possibly up into southern Prince William Sound and through Shelikof Strait. Some of that marginal stuff could work its way into southern Cook Inlet, but the east side of Kodiak Island hopefully will stay VFR through tomorrow. And tomorrow afternoon, marginal VFR along the coast with areas of IFR pulling off the coast throughout the afternoon. And the Bering Sea, a lot of IFR around the Pribilof, St. Matthew Island, a break here through the central Aleutians, and with that front, IFR from Shimia down across Kiska and Amchitka with marginal VFR as far east as Adak. Anatuvik looks wide open tomorrow. VFR, Adigan as well, VFR flying conditions there with possible marginal VFR though for Adigan on the northern approach, but Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR on west and east entrances, rainy VFR, windy VFR. Isabel and eastern Alaska Range should be VFR for the most part, and Tanita looking good, staying open on both entrances. Same thing for Portage, VFR west and east entrance. Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels here, 8,000 feet across southern Alaska and the southeast coast there, 10,000 feet now retreating off to the southwest, and then the colder air coming down from the north there, 2,000 feet over the northeast interior, and kind of a colder pool here over the central Bering Sea down to the eastern Aleutians, then some milder winds or milder air coming up with that southerly wind flow or southeast wind flow coming into the western Aleutians. Icing threats of the light to isolated moderate rime or mixed varieties here scattered around with the showers the Talkeetna Mountains or Kenai Peninsula and back to the southwest, and then mostly below 12,000 feet, mostly rime icing here coming into the western Aleutians, pushing eastward toward Adak the next day. Winds aloft showing that northerly flow here. The impulse is coming southward into the northeast interior. Otherwise, basically still high pressure across mainland Alaska. So no big storms coming in at all, with the main flow here southeast to east across the Bering Sea. The main jet staying to the south. With 9,000 feet, northeasterlies 15 to 30, as high as 35 knots on the western Arctic coast. Otherwise 15 to 25 knots through the central interior out to the Norton Sound area. Pretty light winds here. Southern Alaska, just 5 knots, 10 knots on the southwest coast, and those winds kicking up to 50 knots over the western Aleutians. 3,000-foot winds, pretty light, up to 15 knots from the west-southwest over the Panhandle, but light northeasterlies, 0 to 5 knots, a little brisker here through the central interior. Out along the west coast, 25 to 30 knot winds, and northerlies at about 15 on the central and eastern Arctic coast, and then those winds 30 to 45 knots out over the central and western Aleutian areas. And looking at turbulence for tomorrow, out to the west there, occasional moderate chop, Kiska Island out to Shimianat-2, with pretty smooth though for Atka Island all the way into Bristol Bay. Across all of the southern interior looks pretty smooth. Could be some light mechanical turbulence or smaller aircraft over the northern Panhandle. Occasional moderate chop, western Brooks Range, and then from about Kivalina to Point Hope, Cape Lisburne. Probably not quite reaching Point Lay, but there will be some isolated light moderate chop there, and then it cuts off toward Wainwright. And after the break, I'll be back to look at the marine forecasts.
Welcome to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snider, and joining us once again is our good friend Eric Stevens from GINA, the Geographic Information Network of Alaska. He is here and has been here many times to talk to us about weather satellites and how those can help Alaskans understand our weather, how we can do better detection, keep more people safe from things even like volcanic ash. But today, Eric, you're going to talk to us a little bit more about weather satellites and how that can keep Alaskans safe and protect our property from wildfire, right?
That's right, Dave. Today's topic is where there's smoke, there's fire. And thanks for having us back again to Alaska
Anytime.
Weather. Well, weather satellites have a lot of different instruments on them. It turns out that the electromagnetic spectrum has a lot going on in it, and only one part of that is visible light, what we see.
Right.
Weather satellites, of course, report that. Today's topic is wildfires.
Okay.
There are some people who say that in Alaska in the summertime you don't have severe weather. These people are usually from Oklahoma or somewhere, and F5 tornadoes tend not to occur in Alaska.
Right.
People have also said what we do have in the summer. What is Alaska's severe summer weather can be hydrology,
Right.
flash flood and erosion in the mountains and things like that, and fires, wildfires.
Absolutely.
Those were here in 2004, certainly remember that. We've got an example here from 2014. Now it was a quiet season overall, but in May, down on the Kenai Peninsula, we had a wildfire on the Funny River, and this is a satellite image from a polar orbiter that went right over Alaska, and we can see the plume of smoke coming out of that fire on the Kenai, curling down. It's caught in the wind.
Right.
It goes down toward Kodiak Island, curves around. You can see it circulating around a low pressure system that's in the Gulf of Alaska.
It was a beautiful picture.
Oh my gosh.
Except there was a fire.
There's a fire there. The nice thing is with this satellite image, you can tell where the fire origin is, where
Right.
the smoke is coming from. And it's a color image. We're looking at the wavelength spectrum of about 0.4 to 0.7 micrometers or microns. That's what the human eye would see. If you were riding on the satellite and looked down, you could see this kind of an image.
Right.
So that's pretty nice. But it turns out there's more to the electromagnetic spectrum than just visible light.
Okay.
You've heard of infrared, ultraviolet, that kind of thing. If we move into longer wavelengths, let's go to one specifically, 3.7 microns.
Okay, 3.7.
Why worry about that one?
Okay.
Well, we've got an example here. 3.7, it turns out, happens to be very sensitive to a certain temperature range, temperatures where fires burn.
Okay.
And so we've got an example zoomed in a little more from that same Funny River fire down on the Kenai Peninsula, and we can see that you get up into a few hundred degrees Fahrenheit,
Right.
and that's where the colors are. We can see there on the Funny River fire to the west and to the east, almost a horseshoe shape there, is not only we're seeing where the fire is in a general sense, but specifically where's the active fire
That is where
front.
it's burning right now.
And it's
Amazing.
3.7 microns is the important temperature there.
Okay.
That's right.
So this is really important to firefighters on the ground, people that are making plans and directing the firefighters on where they need to go and cut the trenches and keep people safe.
You know it.
Wow.
If you want to fight that fire, you got to know where it is.
Okay.
You got to know the leading edge. We've also got a movie loop, nothing quite like animating it in time.
Yeah.
You can see the fire spreading out over time with a succession of film or a succession of images. Now this is one channel, 3.7 micron. You know, we looked at that color smoke image before.
Right.
And that's actually a red, a green, and a blue. That's how you get color imagery. What if you took 3 different wavelengths in the infrared? You went from like 2.2 micron, 1.5 micron, up to 3.7. You mix them together, you get this other kind of color image, which is even a better way to sharply bring out the details of where that leading edge of the fire is.
Okay.
You'll note, though, in the infrared, guess what? We don't see the smoke. That's too bad. And on these movie loops, you can see the clouds go by. These channels can't see through clouds. The lesson is there's no one perfect solution. You got to have the visible, you got to have some of that infrared single 3.7 channel, some of the infrared mixing to help get a different perspective. Another one, we've talked before about a fun channel called the day-night band.
Yes, one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, and in Alaska in the winter, it's great. We got all this darkness. The day-night band is so sensitive to seeing light. You can see features that otherwise aren't available. Now in Alaska, when you have a forest fire, it tends to be light out all the time. It's our summer. But we can go down south to the Rim Fire in California in 2013. Now, okay, it was in California, not Alaska, but Alaskan crews went down to fight that fire, so we can talk about it here on Alaska Weather. Here we have a 3.7 micron channel shot of the rim fire, again kind of a horseshoe shape showing that active fire front down there, and then we'll look again to the day-night band, the visible light, and then you can see how the fire is all bright. You can see the active fire front and actually the city lights over there too. Turns out that the cities, while they're active in a social sense, are not really hot in a fire sense. So they don't show up in the 3.7 micron. They're not hot like a fire is, but the fire in the cities look the same from a visible light perspective. And a fun thing here too is that we can see the smoke plume going north from the rim fire on the day-night band. So if we were ever to have, like in 2004 in Alaska, you get dark at night, we still had an active fire season that year. That was, you know, that really bad year. The day-night band didn't exist then, but if we had fires now in August, we could use it then. The lesson here is weather satellites, they offer many different wavelengths of light. Some are used for different purposes, and some of these that we just looked at tonight are especially helpful here in Alaska to find and to track the behavior of these wildfires so the crews can go out there and do their jobs.
Sure. So a satellite toolbox for the firefighting crews and the fire weather forecasters, and it just underlines how important satellites are, especially for Alaska and our mission for the National Weather Service to protect life and property, and also to enhance the national economy. So wonderful stuff there, Eric. And people can look at pictures like this anytime by going to gina.alaska.edu. You'll find images there all around Alaska at various times of the year, and not just about fire weather, but volcanic ash and smoke and anything else you want to check out. They're always beautiful pictures and always interesting to look at no matter what time of the day. Thanks again for joining us, Eric. We appreciate it and welcome you back anytime. For this edition of Alaska Weather Facts, I'm meteorologist Dave Snider. See you next time.
Welcome back. We'll look for northwest winds here along the south coast up to 20 knots, and same thing there for Clarence Strait and Lynn Canal, northern Lynn Canal in the afternoon, south increasing to 25 knots. That same pattern continues through Tuesday across the inside waters, but lighter, more westerly winds here out along the coast, 10 to 15 knots. And for Prince William Sound, southwest at about 10, as well as for the North Gulf Coast. 20-knot winds from the southwest for the western Gulf Coast down across the Barren Islands and across Kodiak Island. Light westerly winds at about 10 or 10 to 15 for Kachemak Bay and Cook Inlet. Outlook for Tuesday, south to southwest 15 for Cook Inlet, southwest 15 Prince William Sound. Same thing for the North Gulf Coast. Barren Islands here to the western Gulf Coast, southerlies at about 15 knots, southeast 15 Kachemak Bay, light variable winds for Shelikof Strait, winds south at about 15 there on the east side of Kodiak Island. And moving west, Bristol Bay, southwest at 15, west-southwest at about 10 here, so pretty light winds for the Alaska Peninsula. And also for the waters southwest of Kodiak Island, those seas running 4 to 5 feet, only 2 to 4 feet here on the Bering Sea side of the peninsula. And then for Tuesday, light southwest breezes here for Bristol Bay with seas only 1 foot. Northeast at about 10 along the Bering Sea side of the peninsula. East 15 on the Pacific side with seas up to 5 to 6 feet. And out in the Aleutians, the eastern Aleutians, easterlies there, 10 to 15 knots, up to 40 knots from the east tomorrow for the western zone there, and small craft advisories over to about AKwx. And then for Tuesday, northeasterlies at 30 knots, easterlies 30, mostly to the west of AKwx. Lighter winds here for the central Aleutians, easterlies 10 to 15 for the Fox Islands. For the southwest coast, west to northwest, 10 to 15 knots. Small craft advisories here for St. Lawrence Island, northeast up to 25 knots. And then that continues even a little bit stronger, northeast 30 knots in the forecast there for St. Lawrence Island, with small craft advisories down into the northern Bering Sea. And south of Nunivak Island, though, a lot lighter west breezes there, but north of the island, northeast at about 20. And up along the Arctic coast there for the central coast, north at about 15, northwest 15 here along the eastern Beaufort Sea coastline. And for the western Arctic coast, brisk wind advisories, again, gales out tonight here from Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort, and then northeast 30 tomorrow. Small craft advisories here from Wales to Cape Thompson, and that continues northeast 30 knots, pretty brisk winds here from Cape Beaufort all the way down to Wales. And the western Arctic coast, central coast, northeast 20, north winds 20 knots here for the eastern Beaufort Sea coastline, then become a little more easterly and lighter, heading over to Kaktovik and Demarcation Point. Looking at tonight's forecast again, thunderstorms here over the southwest interior, some isolated showers all the way up into the Yukon Delta. Showers possible over the Alaska Range. Otherwise, high fire dangers here due to these gusty northeast winds, 15 to 30 knots, gusting as high as 40 miles per hour on the western Arctic coast. Isolated showers possible here over the eastern interior, and low clouds on the increase again for the Panhandle. Same story for tomorrow here for the southeast coast. A little cloudier with a little bit better chance of some showers mainly over the mountains here, south central Alaska. About the same back to the southwest. Sunny and warm over the interior on Tuesday. Comparatively, a little better chance of showers here over south central Alaska. With that, we'll end Alaska weather. Thanks so much for joining us.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.